to our podcast on the new export incentive scheme which the government is introducing, RoDTEP, remission of duties and taxes on export products. In this podcast, we'll be discussing the background and way forward. As many of you must be aware that the government is introducing RoDTEP from 1st January 2021, from when the MEIS will no longer be active. So just giving you how the government came up with the concept of RoDTEP. It all started with the WTO ruling in October 2019. In this ruling, the WTO held that several export subsidy schemes like MEIS, SEZ, etc. were violative of the WTO. Basis that India could not continue with these schemes. While India filed an appeal against this ruling, and accordingly it could have continued with these schemes. As early as March 4, 2020, the government announced that it would replace the MEIS scheme with the RoDTEP. While there is a transition from MEIS to RoDTEP, but two schemes are actually not similar. They are on a very different footing. So while MEIS gave you a reimbursement for the infrastructure inefficiencies which is there, the RoDTEP scheme, the silent feature there would be that it would be a reimbursement of the non-tradable taxes and duties involved in the manufacture. Meaning thereby that these would be actual taxes which are there, which would be given as a form of a reimbursement. These would be VAT and excise duty paid on fuel, electricity duty, stamp duty, ineligible ITC. So the government has highlighted that these taxes and embedded tax of these taxes at suppliers' end would be given to you as a reimbursement in form of this RoDTEP. Since these taxes are not given as reimbursement in present schemes, so this would be over and above the present schemes of duty drawback, advance authorization, EPCG, and GST. Next, this reimbursement would not be on a case-to-case basis. Just like drawback, the government would fix a percentage collecting the industry data as a percentage of FOB value of export. So the percentage, whatever is fixed by the government, basis the industry data, would be given to each and every exporter as a fixed amount on each export. The benefit would be given in form of transferable slips in the electronic ledger of the exporters. So just like MEIS, this too would be in form of a transferable slip. Importantly, because the government was planning to reimburse the data, reimbursing the taxes, it has sought actual data from the exporters. They have written to export promotion councils and industry associations to seek data from the exporters of what these actual tax costs are, so that they can be given as reimbursement. Basis the data submitted by the industry, the committee, RoDTEP committee, has been formed, which should be deciding the ceiling or the rates of RoDTEP, which would be available to the industry. They have prescribed forms in Form R1, R2, and R3, in which data has to be collected by the industry and submitted. So one very important point here is, why these data which is being prepared by the industry, they are focusing on the direct components which are there, which are available in the balance sheet or which they are incurring on their own. As we discussed earlier, that even the embedded cost which is there is to be refunded or included in this data, so that the actual quantum of reimbursement of taxes can be computed and sought from the government. So let us discuss this with the help of an example. So let us say we will be discussing three expenses for this, that what can be the embedded cost or embedded taxes on these components. So let us say for a car manufacturer, he procures raw material, there is some expense of power, electricity, fuel, and he incurs some expenses of freight inventory. Let us see what are the embedded costs in these components. So if you see for raw material, I get my raw material at my factory gate, GST is levied thereon. Therefore, if you talk about these tax costs, none of these costs are incurred by me with respect to procurement of a normal raw material. So at the first glance, I will say that all these costs are non-existent in raw material. However, let us just wait and study this in detail. Let us go back. If you see for raw materials, if I'm procuring raw material on an FOB basis or FOR basis in my factory, it would be the supplier who will be incurring the cost of freight. The freight would be embedded in his procurement cost. Now, further bifurcating or splitting down the freight cost. The freight cost would essentially have in itself the cost of fuel and therefore taxes on diesel which are there, both excise duty and VAT component. Further breaking the down costing of raw materials, the supplier would be using the electricity to manufacture his final components, which he's supplying to. Therefore, this raw material cost would also have an electricity duty component built in. Same, there is also a possibility that if we are procuring steel or a car manufacturer procuring steel parts, steel essentially is a power intensive product. Therefore, there might be coal which has gone in extraction or melting of steel from iron ore to iron and then to the final product. So there is also an element of compensation cess of coal which is built in. So if you now see it in this light, that this raw material itself, let us say as a company, I have an expense of 100 crores of raw material. That component of raw material through freight, it would have excise duty also and VAT also on fuel. It would have electricity duty also because the manufacturer would be using electricity to manufacture his goods. It would have compensation on coal also in case of steel products. Next, it would have non-tradable GST also because he as a supplier would have certain elements of non-tradable GST which he could not avail it and he would have built in his cost. So the exporters need to dig down deep, they need to break this raw material cost and they need to find these embedded costs in order to compute that what exactly is the component of non-tradable taxes which is hidden in the raw material. Similarly, talking about power and fuel. So if you talk about electricity, if you talk about fuel like diesel which are used for gensets, you can talk about gases which are used for boiling, burners, etc. In all those cases, you have several embedded costs which are built in these costs. So in power and fuel, you will have excise duty and VAT when you consider diesel or any other component, or even for that matter, gases which you consider which are being procured, on which till now VAT is applicable. You'll have electricity duty if you consider procurement of electricity, which would be there on the invoice. You'll consider compensation cess on coal and non-tradable GST in built in the electricity cost. So let us wait and understand how these taxes are built in electricity. So if I as a company have an utility bill of let us say 10 lakh rupees, electricity duty would be clearly shown in that invoice of 1 lakh rupees. If you again break up this 9 lakh rupees, the electricity company who is supplying you electricity, they cannot avail ITC because they are engaged in supplying exempt goods. Because they cannot avail ITC, they'll break down that ITC in the 9 lakh rupees of electricity they are supplying to you, and that is except for electricity duty. In fact, in a recent press release, there was a specific report on this regard that 17 paisa per unit is a component which is built in the electricity component. Similarly, if you see electricity, major procurements or a substantial portion of electricity which is generated in India is still thermal. Basis that thermal based plants often use coal as their input, wherein compensation sets on coal would be. So if you have an electricity bill of 10 lakh, while 1 lakh is surely clearly visible on the invoice, you need to go back and compute the non-tradable GST and compensation cess in coal, even on that electricity duty count. Further, in the electricity itself, you will see there are several municipal taxes which are levied by several electricity companies or corporations, which also need to be taken. Moving forward to freight inward and outward, this again is a very important component where you will find a lot of embedded taxes being embedded. So let us take an example that you have a freight cost of 2%, 3%, 4%. of your freight outward side or inward side. Again, on inward side, there may be a possibility that you are procuring goods on an FOR basis. In that case, you need to have some estimates of what is the freight component which is built in your purchase cost. Once you have that freight, you know that out of freight, a major component relates to fuel. And because it relates to fuel, you'll have excise duty and VAT in that fuel, which becomes a part of that freight. Similarly, if you are procuring these services, freight services, from a person who's not registered under GST, or even if he is registered, he is under reverse charge and you are paying the reverse charge under 5%. You know that he cannot avail ITC on any of his inputs. So the truck that he owns, the repair service that he owns, all these goods or services becomes a cost. In light of that, even in freight, you'll have electricity duty, you'll have VAT, you'll have non-tradable GST of this truck and other services, which will be a part of it. In light of above, there will be several costs or there will be several components in the freight also, which become the parts of embedded costs, which are there. So the overall idea of this slide was to explain or to highlight that don't restrict yourselves to the direct costs. Exporters should go to embedded costs which are there in their procurements. Include that cost and then come out to a figure and then represent to the government so that an appropriate and a reasonable number of the taxes which actually become a cost of them should be visible in the. So discussing the way forward for exporters now. So it is very important for exporters to collate product-wise, variant-wise data. The submissions to be made to the government are to be made at an HSN level of 8 digits. So that they should collate the details of input side, output side, product-wise. Then, when they are including these details, they should include embedded tax costs which are there, which should again depend upon the supply chain model, location. It would vary from company to company, what its raw material are, whether that particular raw material has extra embedded costs in that or the embedded costs are higher. All these factors need to be considered while computing the embedded tax costs. Notably, the government is pushing for introduction of this scheme from 1st January. Considering that, timely submission of data is the key. Further, if the exporters are unable to give the data, the government also, if it has to bring a scheme, it will also do some working basis assumption or the industry data that it has, which may be an ad hoc or a lower rate with the government. So the submission of data is of essence. Exporters should not leave it to the government to compute the rate. They should compute for their own industry, come out with the rate and then submit it to the government. Next and lastly, the RoDTEP committee is expected to have its discussion towards the second half of October or probably early November. So time is of essence here. The exporters should immediately start working on this thing and compute the numbers and then make appropriate submissions to them. So this is it. Thank you very much.